The man who thinks much and speaks little develops immense power.
Mr. Hill, it's a true honor. Your philosophy has guided millions for generations. And yet, so often when people discuss your principles, the first image that comes to mind is the charismatic leader, the powerful orator, someone who can command a room with their words and rally people to a cause. Is that a fair assessment? Is that classic image part of your truth?
I'm glad to be here, Dr. Sinclair. And yes, you've touched on a crucial point. The ability to influence others, to cultivate what I call a pleasing personality, is without question one of the pillars of great achievement. No one, and I must emphasize this, no one reaches enduring success alone. To execute any grand plan, you require the willing cooperation of others. And to earn that, you must first earn their trust and their goodwill. It's a fundamental law of human relations.
And that, right there, is where the question arises for me, and for so many people in the modern world. Your powerful principles like the pleasing personality or the mastermind, they seem to be heavily weighted towards social interaction, towards being out there, which is something that can be incredibly draining for an introvert. So my question is this, Mr. Hill. Is your formula a one-size-fits-all prescription, or must an introvert, someone who draws their strength from quiet and solitude, follow a different path entirely? Does your philosophy unintentionally put them at a disadvantage?
Dr. Sinclair, with that question, you have struck at the very heart of a common and profound misunderstanding. A misunderstanding that has, perhaps more than any other, held back countless capable, thoughtful people from achieving their true potential.
So it is a misunderstanding. You mean to tell me that among the hundreds of successful figures you studied, there were also quiet giants? People who looked nothing like that classic, charismatic leader?
Quiet giants. A beautiful turn of phrase. And yes, they were more numerous than you can imagine. You see, society always has its eyes fixed on the stage, on the actor in the spotlight delivering the passionate lines. But it rarely spares a thought for the playwright in the shadows, the one who wrote every word, who structured every scene. Success is much the same.
The directors behind the curtain?
Precisely. I have sat with men whose fortunes dwarfed those of the great kings of history, yet who had perhaps only given 2 or 3 public speeches in their entire lives. Men whose offices were quiet libraries, not bustling hubs of activity. Their power, it came from another place entirely. It was rooted in what I call specialized knowledge. The kind of knowledge that isn't gained at dinner parties, but through thousands of hours of deep, uninterrupted concentration.
So instead of spending their energy on persuading people with words, they spent it on mastering their craft.
You are beginning to see the core of it. They understood that the most durable form of influence is competence. When you are the most knowledgeable person in a given field, people are drawn to you. There is no need to shout. Andrew Carnegie owed a vast portion of his steel empire to the silent scientists and engineers in his labs who were silently innovating. Mr. Carnegie himself may have been the showman, but the true engine of his empire was the focused, quiet minds who understood steel better than anyone on earth.
So specialized knowledge was one of their secret weapons.
One of the most essential. And the other, definite planning. An extroverted personality might launch an idea on a wave of enthusiasm, exciting everyone in the room. This has value. But the introvert, that backstage director, He spends days, weeks in quiet contemplation, mapping out every detail, every potential obstacle, every single step. When he finally presents his plan, it is so thorough, so sound, that it requires no passionate defense. The plan defends itself. Their power was in foresight and preparation, not in improvisation. They won the war in their minds long before the first battle ever began.
That's a fundamental shift in perspective. It means there isn't just one path to success. There's the loud path and there's the quiet path. And both can lead to the same destination.
It goes even deeper than that. The two paths often need one another. An orchestra needs the passionate violinist in the front row, but it is nothing without the composer who wrote the notes in solitude. One is incomplete without the other. The problem is that the world tends to applaud only the violinist, forgetting the composer. But that oversight takes nothing away from the composer's power. Power does not always roar, Doctor. Sometimes the most potent force in the universe is a quiet, focused mind, silently at work, building the future.
Mr. Hill, what you're describing about the backstage directors, it's a revelation. But it brings me back to the central conflict. What becomes of those explicitly social principles? How can a quiet person apply the principle of a pleasing personality when the common definition feels so unnatural to them? Or how can they build a mastermind group when group interaction itself is what drains their energy? Isn't there still a contradiction?
The contradiction only exists if we cling to the most superficial interpretation of the words. The fault lies not in the principle, Doctor, but in our modern translation of it. Let us begin with the pleasing personality. We have confused pleasing with entertaining. But true magnetism doesn't come from performance. It comes from character.
From character? What do you mean?
An introvert's magnetism is drawn from a different well. It comes from their dignity, from the deep sense of calm one feels in their presence. It comes from the fact that while everyone else is talking, they are truly listening. And that is a magnetic power. When you speak with such a person, you feel seen and heard. Furthermore, when a person who is usually silent chooses to speak, their words have weight. Everyone listens. Why? Because they know those words have been forged in the furnace of deep thought, not tossed out from mere habit. That is the magnetism of depth, Doctor. It is far more potent than the magnetism of display.
The magnetism of depth. So deep listening and speaking little but with purpose, those are the components of an introverted, pleasing personality.
Precisely. And as for the mastermind, again, we hold the wrong image in our minds. A mastermind alliance is not a party, nor is it a loud boardroom meeting. The essence of the principle is the creation of a third mind through perfect harmony between two or more minds. Its power is not in the number of its members, but in the absolute harmony between them.
Harmony.
Yes. For an introverted mind, a mastermind of 2 or 3 people who share a deep mutual respect, whose minds complement one another, is 1,000 times more powerful than a group of 20, where each person is merely trying to be heard over the others. That noise extinguishes the creative spark of an introvert, but a deep, focused, respectful dialogue between 2 or 3 harmonious minds, that is where the magic happens. Quality, not quantity. That is the key to the mastermind for the introvert.
So, you're not saying introverts should discard your principles. You're saying they need to redefine them for themselves. They shouldn't try to force themselves to be the passionate violinist, but instead become the best possible composer.
Precisely. And not only that, but in some of the most critical principles, they possess a natural advantage. We've spoken of specialized knowledge and definite planning, but consider creative imagination. The person with a rich inner world has a far more active workshop for ideas. And most importantly, the principle of persistence.
Persistence? How so?
The individual whose motivation is internal, who doesn't require constant applause from the outside world to keep going, their endurance against adversity is immense. They can work for years in silence on a single objective because their satisfaction comes from the progress itself, not from the praise of the crowd. Success, Dr. Sinclair, is not a popularity contest. It is a marathon of creating value. And in that marathon, endurance, depth, and thought will always outlast the fleeting noise.
That's incredible. So all of this pressure the modern world puts on introverts, this pressure to be more extroverted, it's completely misguided. It's a pointless form of self-sabotage.
It is a colossal waste of energy, energy that could be channeled into creation.
Exactly. So instead of telling that brilliant researcher or that introverted software developer, you need to get out there and network at big conferences, we should be telling them, your published paper is your speech. Your elegant code is your handshake. Is that right? They need to shift the field of play to where their power truly lies.
You have grasped the essence of it beautifully, Doctor. You cannot judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree. You must assess it in the water. The introvert's water is the world of writing, of analysis, of strategy.
And today's tools, email, collaborative platforms, even well-crafted, precise messages, it's as if they were designed for these focused, deep minds. A person could run an entire organization with thoughtful emails and meticulous reports without ever needing to endure a loud, chaotic brainstorming session.
You are describing a world far more efficient for the thinker than my own. In my time, for a person to share their deep ideas, they had to rely on a letter or a formal report, a document that might take weeks to reach its destination and make its impact. But today,
a brilliant mind can send a deep analysis or a flawless plan to thousands of people around the globe in minutes, without speaking a single word.
and display true power. The tools change, Dr. Sinclair. The technologies come and go, but the laws of power remain constant. Power always flows to the one who offers the most valuable thought, not necessarily the loudest voice.
This is truly transformative, Mr. Hill. It's all so clear now. So, for the introvert watching this right now, who for the first time feels that it's okay to be who they are, what is the first practical step? What can they do differently, starting tomorrow morning, to begin harnessing this newfound power?
There are 3 distinct steps, 3 actions that can alter their course forever. First, they must take an honest inventory of their true strengths. Not the strengths they think they should have, but the ones they do have. Are they exceptional at deep focus for long hours, at analyzing data and seeing patterns others miss? Are they a phenomenal listener to whom others come for counsel? This inventory, this is their new compass. They must align all future career decisions and projects with this compass.
To know themselves and be true to that knowledge. All right. What is the second step?
Second, they must stop trying to win at a game that was designed for someone else, and instead design their own. Instead of forcing themselves to attend a networking event with 100 people that will leave them drained, let them make it their goal this month to build 2, just 2, deep, one-on-one connections. A focused business lunch, a purposeful phone call. The quality derived from those 2 relationships will far outweigh 100 superficial handshakes. For them, Networking should be like building a bridge, not casting a wide net.
Deep networking, not wide networking. That's very powerful. And the third step?
And third, they must consciously wield their most powerful and perhaps most overlooked weapon, the written word. Before every important meeting, they must write down their thoughts and analyses and circulate them to the key players beforehand. This allows them to frame the entire discussion before it even begins. It brings the power back to their home turf. Instead of trying to win a spontaneous verbal debate, they will have already won the argument with a thoughtful, persuasive text.
So, in the end, it all comes down to finding our true place in the ecosystem of success. In the grand orchestra of achievement, the extroverts may be the passionate violinists in the front row, capturing everyone's attention with the fire of their performance. But the introverts, they're the composers, the ones sitting in a quiet room writing the entire symphony. One provides the brilliant energy of the performance, and the other creates the timeless depth and meaning. And a masterpiece, a true masterpiece, requires them both.
That is precisely it, Dr. Sinclair. Precisely it.